What were the CFI frameworks that you used in the adventure series?
Probably the things in the from CFI that I used in adventure series would be, for sure, getting out and really spending a lot of time, and actually we had a lot of our creative sessions actually at the hospital with the staff and with the patients and working with them, which was really cool. So that was definitely one of the tenets that we used, was getting out and really getting the the folks involved that it really impacts. And that allowed us, I think, to get to a different level. And in fact, I always think about one of the CFI things that we did was the empathy map, and where you go through, what you've heard them say and what you've seen them do and what they're thinking is the feeling, and I always just draw the heart. And we spent a lot of time on that, on getting to the feeling and the desires for that. So to me, that part is so critical that you can't start without that. And then it got to the point where we weren't sure where some of the ideas came from. Was that somebody from the hospital, one of us? Was it a kid? We didn't, and it doesn't matter. And I think sometimes in business, everybody wants to say that's their idea or that's our group's idea, and they to take ownership on it. And we broke a lot of those walls down on this, and we just totally free-form collaborated on everything. So that was one of the tenets for sure that we used from CFI. I think the cross-functional team was also a very important part of it. We did a lot of the just synthesizing information, deciding that collectively as a group where we were going to go versus somebody just kind of choosing it on their own. So that was nice. So the group had a lot of impact on where we went. And sometimes that's a little bit hard to do, but it really worked on that. And then we did tons of prototyping and testing our rough ideas. We call them our sloppy copies. And we have a really cute coloring book that we have that's just so cool. So that we give, and there's one for boys and one for girls. And depending if it's an MRI or CT exam, you get to the child go through there, and they can color it, and there's tips for the parents on the bottom, and it's really cute. But just going through the different low-res versions of that to see what the kids liked, what the parents, what were they trying to do to communicate this step. So it kind of leads them through their whole process, and we call it the anxiety journey, because we know as soon as they know they need to come, it's somewhere, and then it comes up and it's very high when they get to actually see the room and the equipment and the noise, and then it slowly comes back down. And we're trying just to take that anxiety journey and flatten it out as best we can. And one thing we learned, I think, from CFI was we have to look at that whole range. So what are we going to do before we even get them to the room? So that's where the coloring books, and we have some scripts that are almost like movie scripts that help the technologists with tips and tricks on how they can get a family through. We have a really neat thing we're working on at the back end that we call a Heroes Award, that allows them to really take this adventure they've been on and how do they capture it, how do they share it with their family back at school or whatever. And it's so different from just going in and getting an x-ray and leaving. And the way I think about it sometimes is I want the experience in the car ride home from what they just went through to be totally different than it was if the adventure series is not there. And I only can imagine what they're talking about versus if you go in and the child is crying or they have to be sedated. Is a tough situation to be in, and they're sedating significantly less kids, which is obviously a savings for the hospital, huge savings for the hospital. But for the parents, they don't have that 2 hours of recovery. The danger just watching your child go to sleep or something to get to be able to hold still for an exam is a traumatic thing. So that's kind of been, and I'd say so the tenets and some of the elements of customer-focused innovation has been almost along the whole path. But I would say just your letters that you use, the customer-focused innovation, the CFI, is what the kernel was for this whole adventure series. I mean, it was the customer-focused innovation. I mean, we didn't innovate for the customer. We involved them in what it needs to be. And that was something that came from the program here for sure.
Awesome.